every big evolution of technology has always come with the opportunity for humans to level up, to upskill, to do all those things, right? Today, the humanist means to me is we're really important to the way that the world spins. We say human in the loop all the time, and we really do mean it because very few of these technologies are taking place without a lot of human involvement. Don't be like me 5 years ago. Embrace it, try it, leverage it. It is a tool. It has a chance to make you more efficient and more productive in anything that you're doing. That would be my advice. Give it a try. I mean, like, guys, look, my digital footprint at 51 years old is pretty small. Like, I don't know if you'll find many people at my life stage that have honestly not left Facebook, but never been on it. Like, I have a really
I mean, what isn't it like? Is it 1 billion users or 3 billion users? I think it's 3 billion users. So
it's
like,
3 billion. Yeah.
you won't find many humans that are not on it.
I know. I mean, and the interesting thing about that is, I remember early 2000s, right? And you would be kind of like, I'm not on Facebook, and people would be like, oh, what, like, what's wrong? Like, what are you like hiding from like the feds or like, I'm like, no, I kind of like know who my friends are. I don't really need, I know how to get a hold of them. And then to see that like just shift, like, you know, sometime early teens, maybe mid teens, 2000s, like I tell people, I'm like this, I've been like championing like our personal data forever and people just didn't care. But then the narrative shifted at some point and people were like, God, I wish I never was on it. Oh my God, you're
Yeah,
so lucky. It's just been an
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
evolution.
I
So
mean, it's a weird phenomenon to build software, build a tool that the entire purpose is to like document your life or a thin sliver of your life for other humans. Like that's a really weird thing that it's turned into. If
yeah.
you just think about it as a product and a service. So what was it about like not wanting to be on it? Like, is it about personal privacy or was it like something else?
I It to me, it was always privacy. It really was. Like and I can't say I was thinking that granularly like back then about, my data being worth more than gold, but it really was like, I mean, fundamentally, like I had my set of people that I knew how to communicate with, and I was quite content with that. And I honestly didn't need a universe of people like to connect to. I just felt, I kind of believe that at every life stage you run into like I don't know, how many people can you really keep track of at any one stage? The friends that I have like core, like to my life, they still are like friends I've known since 5. And then you have what I like to call like, um, like I'm cordial. Like I don't know if like the word
Yeah,
friend to
yeah.
me is maybe that's where it started, right? The word friend to me is very, very. I'm sensitive to that because I think like, and I
It's a
came from an
protected word.
yeah, like I mean, Wall Street, like everybody was like, "He's my friend, she's my friend." I'd be like, "Really, really? You sat next to him at a dinner and had a glass of wine, and now like that's your like stop? They're not your
Yeah,
friend. Let's just get
yeah.
that real." So maybe it started with my sensitivity around the definition of friend and friendship and what that means, and it just sort of evolved. So I don't know,
And a blue
but
button saying add friend didn't do it for you.
it didn't do it, and so I probably should have maybe taken my digital presence and profile a bit more serious, but it's not too late. I mean, this world's spinning fast, and you know, but we'll see. But I
There's this shift in what technology is and what it means, and also the quality of a relationship versus quantity of a relationship. And there's still this pull for the influencer, the Instagram life, getting likes, getting views, getting exposure.
yeah,
And there's obviously a very clear emptiness and hollowness that comes with that, but there's still this fascination with it. So I think talking about it and kind of exploring the different facets of it is really significant, especially given your entire career has been focused on relationships, right?
yeah,
On connecting
yeah,
with people and
yeah,
understanding their needs, their problems, where it fits from a sales perspective. So
yeah.
I think it's interesting to kind of hear your take on it.
Maybe it is also a function of that. I mean, when I started on Wall Street, I would make literally 400 phone dials a day, and I all I did was talk to people. And so maybe I just didn't want to talk to people when the market closed or the day ended. I mean, that could have been part of it too. I mean, what's interesting, you know what the most interesting thing of all of this is like everyone wants to talk about like the social dilemma, right? And like all of a sudden they were so enlightened at, the machines behind the machine and what it was actually doing and how it was influencing our behaviors and, encouraging and reinforcing our habits and our beliefs, right? Like that came out what, 2020, 2021? I don't even like
Something like that.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Like terms and conditions came out in 2013 when Facebook basically had 300 million people, right? 300 million users. I think we just said it's 3 billion, 4 billion. It was the same problem then. And that was like almost a decade earlier, right? Like this was not new news. And so like I was shocked at the response that the social dilemma received and how all of a sudden now people are concerned about, you know, the machine and what it's doing.
I
And it
think
was,
what's different about the film, though, is because it came out a decade after having these tools and being on Facebook and having Instagram, or a decade plus. I think the social dilemma highlights all the things that we have experienced over the past 10 years. Whereas terms and conditions were kind of the early whistleblower about this is what's going to happen based on, if you see these incentives and you see these terms and conditions, this is what's going to happen. Your information is going to get sold, and then algorithms are going to kind of, control and direct your view and your lens of the world. And I was like, yeah, whatever, that'll happen. Sure. I don't care. But then you fast forward 10 years and then there's a movie, kind of documenting like this is the experience and this is what happens. I was like, oh fuck, that happened to me. This is what happens to me. Oh, it's so
yeah,
true. So I think it's a little bit of like the human bias towards, it's so much easier to look backwards and see what has happened versus looking forward and saying, well, that's going to happen. Let me do steps now to mitigate against a reality that hasn't happened and is then a counterfactual because it never will happen if you take action. Right. So it's like your incentives
yeah.
aren't quite aligned in terms of how like humans operate that way.
I, 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 I got a lot of satisfaction because it's been a minute since I watched it, right? But I mean, there was this, I don't know if it started or if it was really early in it. I mean, it just, Mark Zuckerberg, like basically laughing on a stage saying, yeah, not too many people would just, change the terms and conditions overnight and just go with it. And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, he was like, basically, they just did it overnight. And like, you like it or not, like, and so I was like, okay, like this isn't right. Didn't feel right, never felt right. And now thank you for making me feel better about being shunned because I'm not on Facebook.
There you go. There you go. The validation was a long time coming, but you found it in the
Well,
end.
yeah, it's pretty good.
So, Tim, just kind of do a quick rundown. Who are you? What are you doing in this world?
Yeah, I am I'm a humanist. I'd like to start there. I'm a father, 23-year-old boy-girl twins. So that's been a journey and uh, I'm a kid who grew up in northern Wisconsin in a really small town and who didn't know a lot about a lot and was able to go to school. First person in my family to attend college and went to Brown. It just exploded. Life exploded in my face. I learned how little I knew about anything really fast and like it's been a journey ever since. There was like pre-18 and post-18 and it was just like I've been on a journey of understanding and self-discovery ever since. Like it, today, as a professional, my journey's taken me 20 plus years on Wall Street in every capacity imaginable. I felt that by the time I ended in 2017 running the equity desk for Cantor Fitzgerald in San Francisco, it kind of run its course for me. As I know your focus is technology, as you witness every day commission compressions and automation and the relevancy of a human being coming in and actually doing anything was diminishing by the day. I got to a life stage where I had to make a change. And at that point in San Francisco in the mid teens, tech, 2.0 kind of came up to that urban center, right? Like it, the new people coming into tech required that urban setting. And so Silicon Valley moved into the city and Salesforce built the giant phallic symbol. And like the pulse of tech was just like blowing up. And so I was like, all right, I just naively said, I'm going to get into tech and I'm going to just cash out, take some time off and just get into tech. How hard could that be? Well, I mean, 3 months turned into 7. And fortunately, someone with a vision at Gartner uh, let me was kind enough to allow me in their doors, and I had, one of the most unbelievable professional experiences of my life. Gartner was such a wonderful place to work, and it's just top notch, top to bottom. And I was fortunate enough to be there through COVID, right? And so I got 10 years of tech learning in two. I mean, it was, I was talking to large enterprise companies in Silicon Valley, like who had to digitize overnight. And it was just fascinating to be in those conversations. So, 4.5, 5 years at Gartner just opened up new tech doors for me. I got a little taste of the startup venture buzz, and, was asked to come build a team at this B2B research startup. The CRO came from Gartner. We saw the world the same way, and it was going really well. And then some banking crisis hit, and I guess that was what, or March of 23 ish, something like
Yep.
that. And
Yep.
you probably appreciate this, right? Venture capital went from revenue at all costs to like, wait a minute, we need profitability now. Like, what are we doing? And I got caught up in that. I got riffed. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what is riff? Like, oh, reduction in force. I'm like, so for the first time in my life, I was not in control of my next move. But I knew I had sort of the juice of tech, like what was happening. Like I knew it was exciting, and I was learning. There was never a dull moment. And another long journey of like, what am I going to do next led to, an interview with this company called Notable Systems. Notable Systems was in the business of digitizing medical records. And I made it all the way to the final round, and this guy, Steven Johnson, we hit it off pretty well. And he said, unfortunately, we're going with this gentleman from Google, but I'm a fellow at Northeastern. There's an opportunity at the Experiential AI Institute. And I was
And you said,
like,
what is that?
exactly. I was like, what, where, who,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, huh? And I did. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and 25 interviews later, I ended up becoming what I currently am is the director of business development um, at the Experiential AI Institute at Northeastern University. So that was December 13th was my first day. So
A lot to pull on there, but obviously we have to ask the follow-up question. What the hell is the Institute?
yeah, so the Institute for Experiential Artificial Intelligence at Northeastern University, they always make me, I mean, it's a lot to spit out. Like when I meet people like at that conference, I'm like, what do you do? I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And then like 3 minutes later, they're like, oh, okay, that's your, now what do you do? Um, so you mean to talk about the institute, you really need to talk about Northeastern, right? So and all of this, you have to imagine I didn't know much about prior to prepping and getting through the process. But Northeastern, for all intents and purposes, was historically known as a pretty blue collar commuter school, primarily located in Boston. And the experiential part of that is the co-op program, and so they've always had an incredible relationship with industry, right? Like real people, real problems. Let's dig in, let's get involved. Real students solving, helping us, shape curriculum. And so there's all that. And then I'm not exactly
And,
sure
and,
when.
and quick question, was that historically almost more like was it like trade school work, or was it more of like technology work, or what kind of work was it? Because I know it's been around for a while and it definitely has transformed that community, and then even more broadly in a balance between education and the people and the business all kind of serving the three pillars together. But yeah, maybe
Yeah,
color
yeah,
the,
yeah.
the history versus present day.
I I'm not an expert here, but I would imagine it's evolved with the economy. So,
Hmm.
the opportunities that were around 40, 50 years ago look a little bit different than the ones today, but I'm pretty certain that they always had sort of a tech forward view of, the world and how to prepare students to get involved with it, right? I think, and that was the undergraduate side of the house. So, I'm assuming that there was an evolution with where jobs went with how they were placing kids or learners for that matter. They don't necessarily have to be kids. And then, our president comes in, Joseph Aoun, and he wrote a book called Robot Proof. And it maybe was 7 or 8 years ago, but his vision, I think, and I don't want to speak, again, this is Tim Weidinger, I'm not speaking on behalf of the university, but I mean, he's very. I think he was early in the people who saw this major shift in education and what institutions needed to be providing to prepare learners for the world that they were about to get into, right? Like, and so he's thinking about a future world. He's starting to think about technology on a really, very deep level, and AI is a huge part of that. You know, AI, you know this, right? AI has been around for a really long time, but got hot. Gen AI got hot a couple years ago, but so that his vision, right? And so like we're not just going to be like here, like we're going to be a global university. So we now have 14 campuses all over the world, you know, from London to Ontario to Miami to Silicon Valley to Oakland to Seattle. Like so now he's like this is like a network of university talent and instruction and just incredible resource. So we stretch all over the world, and then there is Maine, and there is the state of Maine, and there's the Rue Institute, which was funded in large part by this gentleman named David Rue and his wife. And he was a Mainer his whole life, which I'm learning. I've only been here since April. Like that means something to these people. Like being a Mainer is like, it's a big deal. I'm not a Mainer. I live here, but I'll never be a Mainer. So incredibly successful in the PE space. And the story I heard was, for most of his career, the companies he'd buy and sell, he'd say, think about Maine, set up shop in Maine. And the response would always be, you don't have talent in Maine, And so he got to a nice point in his life where he's like, well, I'll build talent. So he wrote a huge check, started the Institute with some additional money. And so the Rue Institute was born, and their main mission is for the economic sustainability of the state of Maine, which traditionally has been, pretty blue collar, right? Forestry, fishing, and let's make it tech forward. Let's bring talent here. Let's attract companies and let's fuel that pipeline for the future. So that's the Rue. Their mission is just to enhance the quality and the economic survivability of the state and beyond, really. But the premise was pretty heavily Maine focused. And so as part of that, you can't do that without an artificial intelligence institute. So shortly after that institute started, the Rue, along with the provost, contributed some additional funds to start the Institute for Experiential AI. And they recruited Usama Fayed, who, as you know, has been in AI forever, through a couple winters, and the rest, I guess, is now a 3.5 year history. So that's a long way of saying, did I answer the question? I think I don't remember what it was.
I think we kind of get a feel for the institute, right? So it's again that intersection between technology, skills building, people, and then also being able to show up into the community and drive business impact, etc. I think one of the things that you said at the top of your intro is that I'm a humanist, and you led with saying I'm a humanist. What does that mean?
That means I'm very, for me, what it means is
Yeah.
I'll put it in AI terms, like I think I've always been aware of relevancy. To me, like the intersection of, human relevancy and technology has always sort of been on my mind, like my dad was the UPS driver, and, I understand like how important it is to be relevant. And so, oftentimes I find myself in these discussions where it's like, oh, just technology, we should just accelerate at all costs. And, like it can't do anything but be good and blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, you know, like every big evolution in technology has always come with the opportunity for humans to level up, to upskill, to do all those things, right? Because the second that the farms were introduced to the tractor, and it went all of a sudden like 80% of the world who was working in agriculture is now diminished to one. They still, like human beings, still had a chance to upskill, work to get into the factories and still be productive, right? And then the robot arms come into the factories and technology starts to evolve there, and the humans still had a 2 decade or 3 decade chance to evolve, learn, upskill, go to school, and start to get involved in the services industry. And so today the humanist means to me is like we're really important, like to the way that the world spins. And I think, people who don't consider, like, it's a big focus for the institute, right? Like we say human in the loop all the time, and but we really do mean it, because you very few of these technologies are taking place without a lot of human involvement, right? But personally, you know 5 years ago, maybe I was probably like a doomsayer. Like I was like a P10 doomer. I was like, I mean, I would get like these discussions all the time with these accelerationists, and I'd be like, man, I don't know if you understand it. Like, what makes people tick is waking up in the morning and having a purpose and feeling relevant. And I'm really concerned that technology has now moved so fast that it's not that humans aren't capable of reskilling, upskilling, but the compressed time between the shift that I think we're seeing now, right, and the historical shifts we've seen with these major advancements, it's going to be at a level that I don't think anybody really, really,
So
really
it used to
understands.
be at a time scale that humans had enough, you can shift, you can learn. Maybe it happens once in your lifetime or maybe twice in your lifetime, but now it's
Yeah,
happening every year. I think the piece that is also extremely interesting to me is how you call out relevancy. And so it's not necessarily relevancy from needing to earn an income. I mean, maybe it is that, but that's not what you're calling out. But you're
no,
talking about meaning for a human. And in order to have meaning, you need to be relevant. You need to fit somewhere into the puzzle and not just be doing irrelevant work, because you could work and maybe it doesn't matter because the robots and AI can do all of it. I think that's a very human aspect of the equation, and we are humans. Go figure. So,
yeah,
but to have meaning, you also need what you do needs to matter, right? And it
yeah,
matters if
yeah.
it's relevant, and relevant can be impacting your local community, impacting the world, anywhere in between. But I think relevancy is a very key piece that's not often talked about when we talk about the relentless advance of technology and AI.
Yeah, like purpose. I mean, like, and like, I mean, the big argument is, well, technology is just going to replace the tasks that are monotonous and people really don't like doing anyway. I'm like, well, have you polled all 8 billion people on the planet? I mean, there really are people who, you know, they show up to work, they check groceries out, like they love doing that. There is that element to it that isn't lost. I get it. Like, not everybody in the world would love to do monotonous tasks, and I understand technology can do a lot of these things that humans can do. But I mean, you can't speak for the entire population of human beings when you say, oh, well, they don't want to probably do that anyway. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. I'm not saying
So,
everybody that is, you know, checking groceries out or digging, I'm not saying that everybody loves that job either. But I am
but
saying,
there's
yeah,
maybe a place and there's a piece for the people.
yeah,
What would be the push towards a more intentional approach? I mean, obviously we have this it is relentless. Technology just innovates and innovates, and it doesn't matter what you believe or what you think or what you want. Like, the current collective human consciousness is going to evolve and advance technology. So, knowing that that is not something we're going to change, what do you see as your role or responsible humans' roles in making sure that we have continuity of relevancy and kind of that human aspect of work as it shifts and changes so quickly?
man. Just one real quick, like, so what's the,
So
I
we're not going to
yeah,
slow down technology,
no, no,
right?
no, no, agreed,
But
100% agree.
given that that is a known thing, what is the important thing for a human to do to make sure that we're designing intentional software, or maybe it's building more human in the loop systems, even though maybe they're not necessary from productivity perspective, maybe they're necessary from a keeping relevancy, keeping humans engaged, maybe safety aspects, or maybe there's
Yeah,
another pathway of, we hit UBI and we find relevancy and other meaning. I
yeah.
mean, what does the ethical, maybe not ethicals, maybe ethical is not the right word, but what is the correct framework to think about keeping relevancy for humans while we do still have this inevitably compounding technical snowball?
Yeah. So I probably didn't complete my thought. I've been a little all over the place. But so when I was a P10 doomer, like, Skynet's coming, world's going to end, like, we're done. I felt like irrelevancy was just around the corner. Right. And then, of course, a lot of those fears, concerns, beliefs were just, I was ignorant about it. And I just didn't know. I didn't know. And so through this process and through getting into technology, like, I learned very fast that these are a lot of times just tools, right? And so the key to me is first of all, you always have to be a lifelong learner. And but the next step is really, relevancy is one thing, but you also have to realize as a human being, it takes a lot of work to stay relevant, and to continue to have purpose. It's not like something you wake up and is just handed to you. Like, so, the journey on education, you always have to be learning, number one. And so, but the next step really is, where I kind of flipped the switch was like, oh, these are tools. And, I'm getting longer in the tooth. And, these the younger generation is, I mean, they're flipping around these machines pretty quick. They're looking at the world a little bit differently. I think they understand a lot of things that I don't, but what they don't have is, 51 years of experience. And so if I can take these tools, and look at myself as a large language model, right? And I plug into them, like, I think I'm going to get a different output that I'm going to probably appreciate better. And it will, for me, like, keep me more relevant. I believe that 100%. So, I think the evolution to stay relevant and to feel purposeful is to just learn and to continue to, look at where you are in life. Like, how can I make this life better? How can I, whatever that means to you, if there's things you don't like to do, is there a different way to do it? And technology, if as I've adapted, can help. Like, I'm super excited. Like you said at the beginning, like, this Gen AI stuff. I mean, it's like great. It really is great. Um, and I've just decided to embrace it, then fight it. And so I want to integrate it into my life as much as possible. And yeah, like, don't necessarily want to spend 3 hours writing a business plan or a review, right? Like, I'd rather do other things and continue to try and keep up with what's happening in the space. So learn, be curious, listen, like, just, watch your podcast, like, just stay involved. Otherwise, I think we will get left behind, unlike that scenario that we
Yeah.
described where, we moved from the farm to the factories to the service. Like, this is, in my opinion, this is going to happen, oh, really fast relative to those prior transitions.
Where does the institute come into play in terms of its mandate? We talked a bit about, again, training the talent internally. But I guess two questions. One is the institute specifically and its role, but then also the aspect of experiential AI. What specifically, why is experiential in that definition? How does that color the work that you guys do overall?
I think the experiential part is just an extension of the roots of Northeastern, which is the co-op experience, right? Like, it's just the
So
experiential is
hands-on
just,
learning,
it's just
actually
getting,
doing stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting in there, like the mission, like the elevator pitch, if you will, or the mission of EAI is really to provide human-centric, responsible solutions to challenges that both industry and communities are facing all over the world. And I mean, I can't tell you how interesting the conversations that we have are. I mean, I'll 1 minute we'll be
Yeah, can
talking.
you give me an example of like a project you guys are doing or a recent initiative
Yeah.
or co-op or something?
I mean, yeah, I mean, just the other day, like 1 minute, like, so obviously, one of the practices in the Institute is a responsible AI practice, right? It's full of philosophers and ethicists and really esteemed people in the responsible AI world. And so, like, we did an outreach, like, to community leaders, like, from city governments in, Salt Lake City to Chicago to Ontario to, like, boom, and the interest level is just amazing. And it's fascinating to see where all these communities are, what they understand, what they don't, how they're trying to work through, the challenges that their employees want to bring these things into the workplace. They're freaking out, and they just don't want it in there. The Gen AI, like, ban it. And so, like, we work with them through, like, policy, and we try to help them, educate them, because oftentimes, as the biggest barrier to embracing anything new is just the lack of knowing much about it, right? So, I'll go from one day, like, I'll have a conversation with a community leader who's trying to figure out how to decrease, the 30-week homeless housing application down to 12. I mean, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty impactful stuff. And then I'll go get on a call with a manufacturing company who's got 14,000 SKUs, and they're trying to figure out how to be more efficient with their order processing. And so, and everything in between. It's the I think it's important to know, like, we partner with industry and communities in really two ways, right? Like, R&D. So on the R side, people get that. You're an academic institution, research, we get it. You want to be involved in these real problems. You want to help it shape curriculum. You want to write papers. They understand that. Sponsored research, they get it. But on the delivery side, you know, the development side, we have an AI solutions hub where we have, people who have been in AI for 30 plus years, people, engineers, PhDs, and who all go in there and help build, right? And so get in there on your journey with, like, what do we do? Well, here's what you do. So we can help build, we can help create new avenues for research. And then all of this, of course, the experiential part, to get back to your question, is we layer in, our student population, right? Which is getting more technical every year. So from the PhD students around here to the students all over the 14 campuses all over the world. And we continue to promote those co-op opportunities, right? And it's fascinating. I mean, they're here working with us, right? They're getting involved, helping us build and solution, and it's pretty interesting. That dynamic, I think, is really unique, right? We oftentimes run into, as you know, probably, like, you're running into the magnificent seven tech companies who can basically walk in anybody's door and put a wrapper on anything at a fairly reasonable price point, and people are, it's in their tech stack already, and they're like, why not? And the consultancies have their plan, and but I think the emergent, the synergies between, the brain power we have and like, everybody who's here, who's in, like, leadership positions, like, they could be making a lot more money somewhere else. Like, they're not here for the money, right? They're here to help really engage and solve problems. And then you energize that with a lot of these younger perspectives. And it's just a fascinating combination of, like, I've been there, done that, to have you thought about it this way, right? And
And then
it
you're
is,
bringing in like the real world needs of a business into that setting where there's experience and energy, and then also you have the real problems. And I think one of the things that can happen at companies, at institutes, colleges, wherever, is kind of solving problems more for the theoretical aspect of it rather than actually solving problem. And I think you can learn things from that side, but you also need to have the practical, real world, like, this is a pain that someone experiences on a daily basis. Can we find a solution for this pain point that
yeah,
fits within these particular constraints of revenue, profitability, whatever it is?
yeah, totally. I think, again, I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody, but one of the messages that I've seen consistently told is, for a long time, academia sort of led the way in terms of, new ideas and, technological advancements. Like, they came out of a lot of labs at universities, like, really incredible stuff. But that's shifted, I mean, the last 20 years or so. Like, it's an industry now. So, like, if you want to stay relevant as an academic institution, you almost have to look for industry partners, right? To help you figure out, like, where and what should we be focused on in preparing our learners for the world they're about to get into. So that's created a tremendous shift in I think academia, for sure. So we need each other.
Is there a split or a bias towards more of the research side of the institute versus the practical hands-on side, or is it pretty 50-50?
Probably depends on who you talk to.
Many lenses, many perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to there's so many incredible perspectives that I get to engage with. But 50-50 is probably fair, right? I mean, yeah, I think it just depends on discipline and who you're talking to and what they're really focused on. But I think 50-50 is a fair thing. Yeah.
And then with Gen AI, I'm always curious, it's clearly just swept the world and the world's imagination the past 2 years. How much of what you do is just implementing Gen AI in particular or researching where it can be applied within a particular um, system for a client versus also exploring machine learning, traditional like model building and or traditional software or just solutions that have nothing to do with it with AI, but it's the right solution at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, you're the technician, so I don't think the chasm between machine learning and AI is all that huge, maybe. I mean, Gen AI obviously has come on the scene, as you said, a couple of years ago, and it's really accelerating things. But I think, I at the Institute, everybody has a focus on AI. It's AI for climate sustainability. It's AI for health. It's AI for life sciences. It's responsible AI. So I mean, everybody here, the 100+ faculty members and everybody that's involved in the Institute, like we are all AI all the time, right? Um, Now, once you peel back the curtain and understand what the real challenges that are, the AI is maybe not always the solution, right? Gen AI might not always be the right solution. Oftentimes it's not. So, and we can get our hands dirty and get technical on all of which you just mentioned, right? But the applied part of it is really important, I think, to our institute. And, we certainly like to move in lockstep with our partners and provide them, in terms of what we feel could be the best solution. So it doesn't always end up on AI, but AI first is sort of always what we're thinking about. And
Makes
how can
sense.
it
And
help?
it's
Yeah.
in the name. So I guess that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
makes sense. There's probably a bit
Yeah.
of filtering already going on. If someone's showing up, they maybe have a matching problem.
Right. Right. You guys do AI? What's the institute's
Oh,
name?
go
What?
figure. Yeah, yeah.
What?
For you specifically in your role, kind of two-part question. Where do you see your role evolving within the institute or for the institute, kind of helping shape, particularly you mentioned BD, you're having all these interesting conversations. What does that look like? And maybe kind of tucked under there with an additional question. You mentioned using Gen AI yourself. So maybe layer in where does your personal usage or your roles usage kind of shift over time, as well as just the vision that you see for you working within the institute.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, to draw the comparison to the startup world, I mean, we're trying to do something that is pretty unique, which is, I don't want to say like commercialize a operation within academia, and that may not be a fair assessment of what we're trying to do. But universities historically are not built to work really efficiently with industry, right? um, Now, so it's my job to, do a lot of things, which is first and foremost, it's to connect uh, me and my team to as many potential industry partners and communities who are looking for help away from what historically has been those traditional lanes that we talk. The five tech companies, the consultancies, like, how can we differentiate ourselves? So it's just constantly on the lookout for partners. And when we say partners, like, I mean, it really is partners. Like, we don't want to like go drop a fish off and, call us when you're hungry again. I mean, we really do want to get in the boat, fish with you and learn with you. So my, at this stage of where we're at and where we need to get to be relevant, in the grand scheme of the university, like we have to hustle and find partners. I mean, so that's a priority. And so it's building the team. It's understanding where we work, where we don't. Um, and there's a lot of challenges associated with that. Like, just like the stuff from the private world that I took for granted, like just getting an NDA processed and getting a fee for service agreement signed. Like, I mean, it's different.
That is very different.
So yeah, so I mean, we're head down and just, I feel really good about what we do, and that that helps, right? Like, I mean, just it really gives you confidence to talk to people. But again, I it's my role, and it's my team's role to be the connective tissue to the subject matter experts that then can come in and really layer in that expertise, right? So I am the connector again, which we talked about earlier. I mean, that's what I'm good at. um and the second part of that question was uh oh my god, what was it? Oh, like how am I embracing Gen AI? And like, I'm doing probably what most of the general population is. I'm not taking, coding classes or anything. I'm not, literate in Python yet, but I have my daily podcasts. I love the AI Daily Brief with Nathaniel Whitmore. Like, I mean, that thing, like every day, it just kind of keeps me informed on um, everything that at a high level anyway of what's going on. And then I take some classes online here at the university to try to stay relevant. Um, Tools I've leveraged. Of course, I have 4.0 Premium, Perplexity. I am a huge fan of. I play around a lot with. Well, I don't know. I mean, didn't I think OpenAI just came out with their own Perplexity Buster today? Didn't they? I think I saw that.
It became white, or you can apply to be on the wait list. So they
Oh, is that where
announced
it's at?
GPT
Oh,
search or chat search, something like that. GPT search, I think. Yeah.
yeah. And as you probably aren't shocked, knowing a little bit about me, like Venice, which is, I think, kind of fancies itself as the DuckDuckGo of the search
Oh, I'm
world.
not familiar with the term, the
Ven,
tool.
yeah, I mean, they're basically saying, we don't track anything you do. Like,
Yeah.
it's yours. And
Is
so
it
I've been,
better than but it's generative AI as opposed to
it's Gen
DuckDuckGo, the
AI.
search.
It's
Gotcha.
multimodal. I mean, I'm not using chat gpt like on too technical of a level, so I don't know where it ranks on in terms of its actual output, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um so I've been playing around with that. Um and I'm always just looking for stuff to read, consume, and listen to. But I'd say my go-to's are of course ChatGPT 4.0 right now, Perplexity and Venice to a certain extent. um
I'll have to try out Venice and see where it ranks for me.
yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I use it for is pretty high level. Like, just again, the stuff that you really don't like to do, which is, you know, do I really need to read all 40 pages? Like, it's not like I'm not drafting policy based on the insights here.
Yeah.
So if I get a few bullets there, I probably
We
can make
generally
that
need that
work.
synthesis. Experts
Yeah,
don't, but there's a
yeah.
lot of information out there on a daily basis.
Oh yeah. I mean, keeping up. I don't know. How do you do it? How do you keep like this? It spins fast. I mean,
I don't, but I'd say that the things that have enough noise filter upwards.
yeah,
People talk about it. We have internal Slack, obviously, and talk with the team and figure out what's going on. And conversations
yeah.
like this, keeps. I'll go try out Venice and learn something new.
We've been pounding the SLM story for a long time, right? Like, these small language models. Like what I'm really excited about, particularly for our responsible AI practice, is the model sizes are coming down, right? With not a lot of like give up in
Yeah,
the actual results. And as that continues to happen, and as these costs come down, and as it gets longer in the tooth in terms of people leveraging and using it, like, I just think the adoption rate is going to just accelerate at a really, really, really high pace. And the responsible component of it, the risk management component of it, I think it's going to be as relevant as ever. Like, I just
yeah.
think that that's a point where we really have to stay on top of it. And a lot of people need help there, right? Like they just do. So I see that being a really, really, really exciting space that will accelerate. A lot of
I'll
people
close
who
this.
couldn't even think about using these Gen AI models a year ago or were concerned, like, I mean, that whole bucket is starting to spill over. Like, yeah.
And it's going to
And
snowball. I mean, we have the initial 15% of early adopters, and I think again, ChatGPT was the fastest product to hit whatever metric, a billion in revenue or fastest growing product ever.
100
But
million
even
users, I think they like to say, or
yeah,
whatever
that's what
that
it
are.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
100 million
Yeah. Yeah.
users is kind of the benchmark. But even with that, I think that was users to sign up and to try it out. I think the percentage that probably use it on a daily basis is the real early adopters that are kind of incorporating this and becoming, oh, this is a tool that I use daily. People maybe
Yeah.
use Google early days once in a while or tried it out if they heard about it. But the behavior of Googling things on a daily basis was an instinct that wasn't necessarily learned until you kind of force that habit. And I think there is a percentage of the population that does that now. I mean, I use ChatGPT in so many different ways on a daily basis, and I think many others do, but there's also a large percentage that are worried, concerned, or just, haven't built up that muscle. A
Yeah.
question to you actually would be, given you were more on the doomsdayer side, and maybe you're a little less so now, to close this out, what would your thoughts be to someone who's still worried, afraid, and maybe resistant to using a ChatGPT or any Gen AI tool on a weekly or daily basis?
Which is a lot of my uh, social circle. So I can say with confidence each and every time I am in front of them and they throw all those objections that you just shared with me, I say, try it. And within 2 minutes, they embrace it. I mean, they're just blown away. Now, I'm not saying they become daily users, but they're just like, wow. Like you've been around those people who use it for the first time, and it's usually something silly like make a song in the theme of this or whatever. But then they're blown away, and so that to me is just the advice I would have is don't be like me 5 years ago. Embrace it, try it, leverage it. It is a tool, and it will make you incredibly better at it has a chance to make you more efficient and more productive in anything that you're doing, but you have to try it. And that would be my advice. Give it a try.
Well said. Tim, thanks for coming on the show. This has been a wonderful conversation. If people want to connect with you, find your phantom ghost internet presence, where should they go? How should they get in contact with you?
I would say, yeah, I don't have any. I don't have any real social media presence. I mean, the website for the Experiential Artificial Intelligence Institute is there. I'm on there. LinkedIn, of course, is a great place. Tim Weidinger on LinkedIn would always be happy to connect and learn about wherever anybody is on their journey. So I'd say that's probably the two best ways. You have my phone number, but I don't know if we need to give that out.
Anyone who knows me really wants to get in
Yeah,
contact with
anybody know
Tim, reach
they know
out.
how to get a hold of me.
Awesome, Tim. Thanks so much. This has been fun.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and all the best to you and everything that's going on. It's exciting stuff.
Thank you.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Bye.